Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. And this midweek episode, we're going over Rate Our Dungeon, or Rate the Dungeon, not Our Dungeon, I didn't make them, but Rate the Dungeon, and it is going to be Scarlet Monastery. Now, there are technically 4 different dungeons here, but I'm gonna, because they all come under the same name, just sort of different wings of the dungeon, I'm gonna put them all together in one, as they don't merit their own podcast separately, or episode I should say. So Scarlet Monastery is a dungeon from around level 28 to 42. These are 4 different wings. You start off with Graveyard, then you go to Library, and then Armory, and then Cathedral. These are the different wings. Obviously, Graveyard being the lower level, and ending up with Cathedral at around level 40 to 42-ish. You have 8 bosses in total. That's across all of the wings, with potential 11 with rare spawns. Now, the rare spawns only come from the Graveyard wing, and there's 3 potential in there. The others are broke down as Graveyard has 2 bosses. You have Library with 2 bosses as well, Armory with 1 boss, and then you have Cathedral with 3. So, how is the layout of the dungeon? It's very simple. Obviously, you're not going into this massive wonky maze of different wings. They each have their own zone-in portal, so you would only be doing Library or Graveyard or Armory, etc. They're all very linear, all 4 wings of the instance, but they're quite nice in terms of aesthetically moving through the dungeon. It's not too bad at all. It's very calming. Like I said, it's very simple, but you get a lot of XP for the mobs that are in there. How compact it is, it doesn't take long at all, so you're powering through your levels very quickly. So it is very, very effective. Now, what is the loot in there? The loot in there is really good. So, you know how I was talking about Twink gear at level 19 in Shadowfang Keep, which is like the best of the best? This is the gear that you would probably switch it out with if you were actually just leveling, especially melee. If you look at Armory and if you look at Cathedral bosses, they drop some very lucrative weapons and shields and plate pieces and stuff like that. You also have in the Library section, as well as Cathedral, caster gear such as robes, a staff, even a wand. And it's very lucrative items and very good. They will last you until about your level 50-ish. It's very, very good, especially in classic sort of, what do you call it? Classic realms, that one. Now, was it revamped? It was, sadly. Not sadly, they're both very good in their own right. The revamped version just basically meant that they stuck 2 of the wings together. So instead of 4 different dungeons, it's 2 different dungeons, I believe. They put Graveyard and Library in the same one, and then they put... No, sorry, that's my mistake. They put Graveyard and Cathedral in the same one, and then they put Library and Armory in the same dungeon, which is a bit weird. I would have thought that they put the Graveyard and Library in the same one. But, it is what it is. So there is kind of a revamp to it, but not much was changed. They kept basically the original layout of the dungeon. All they did was basically copied and pasted one into the other and made a connecting sort of tunnel to it. It wasn't really that special and nothing worthwhile, essentially. Scarlet Monastery is always going to be one of the favourite dungeons in WoW forever. It's so unique where it is. It's in Tirisful Glades. I remember actually going to... I made my first ever Undead, and this was when I just started playing WoW. You'd just make random characters. You wouldn't really level them. You'd just sort of explore. I'd get to around level 10, 11, and I would make the unfortunate mistake of either running into the plaguelands and getting killed by a diseased bear, which I definitely didn't do. But I also made the mistake of running to Scarlet Monastery, and in this time period, they were elites outside of the instance. So I would walk up to around level 28 elite, and it would kill me inevitably. It was an experience, to say the least. And I was very confused as to why this place was up here in a level sort of 10 zone. And obviously, you do the research, look it up on Thoughtbot or whatever you looked it up on back in the day. Even if you had the old game manual, you could look it up there, and that was certainly a way to do it. But game manual suggests so many different things that aren't necessarily good. There was one example of someone wanting to, or a game developer or whoever wrote this basically said you want to put like warrior talents into Rend, and Rend in Classic was just a awful ability. You would never press it at max level. But I'm getting off topic. So Scarlet Monastery is a very iconic dungeon in terms of where it is, the lore behind it, just the whole Scarlet enclave, the Scarlet, what do you call them, religion, because they are technically like paladins, but the light is also with them, so the light isn't necessarily good and the light isn't necessarily bad. We've always thought that the light is good in World of Warcraft, but it isn't, not at all. We saw that with the Zera cinematic back in Legion, and we can see that with the Scarlet faction. That's the word, faction, because they believe that they are doing right, but they are ultimately the bad guys. But the light doesn't discriminate. They do believe that they are doing the right thing, so the light gives them power, essentially. Okay, I've really gone off on a tangent with that one. So, yeah, Scarlet Monastery is very good, very much worth your time. If you're doing classic dungeons, 100% do it, would recommend it. If you're doing it on retail as well, please just take in the sights of Scarlet Monastery. It is such an iconic dungeon, and it is very, very fun, to be honest. You get a lot of XP for a very little time, to be honest. It's a very short dungeon. It is very noob friendly, but around the level 28 to 40 mark, you're not necessarily going to be a noob anymore. You're going to be a bit more experienced. You're going to be adequate with the game. You're going to be somewhat of a adept to it. Is that the right way to put it? I don't know. That's what I'm going with. But yeah, if I had to rate the dungeon, I would probably give it, as a whole, I would have to give it probably about 6, 7, probably a 6 out of 10. If we're looking at individual, Graveyard, I'd probably give like 4. Library, I'd give about a 6. Armory, I'd give about a 6. And Cathedral, I'd give about a 7. So yeah, a 6 overall would be good. It's very good. It's very good, and it doesn't take up a lot of time, unlike some other dungeons that we'll be going over, like Maraudon, very soon, because they are long, winding paths. This one is very straightforward, simple, cut to the chase kind of thing, and it's very, very good. But that is it for this episode. Thank you all very much for listening. Be sure to check out the Patreon, as well as YouTube and Twitch, constant stuff happening there, as well as ad-free content on that Patreon. Thank you once again, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.